Alright, so I'm going to prove to you why the Portugal Golden Visa would now require the investors up to 15 years to naturalize. I'm going to share what has happened so far. There's some sweeping changes that have already happened, and then there's a pathway, right? In the next couple of months, there's some very important impacts that we need to analyze, understand, and be prepared for. So I'm going to cover all of that. I'm also going to, towards the second half of this video, talk about a couple of excellent golden visa alternatives, right? So for people who are going to be discouraged by this change with Portugal, the most interesting thing over here is that not just the new applicants, there's some significant considerations or impact to existing Portugal Golden Visa applicants as well. So let's say you started the Golden Visa 5 years ago and you were just about to apply for citizenship. These changes, once they're effective, are going to change all of that, right? You might be waiting for another 7 to 8 years to then get your citizenship from Portugal. So I'm going to discuss that. First, let's discuss what has already happened. And even before that, if you are a regular viewer of my channel, I request you to please check your subscription and turn on that subscription. It helps me get you updates on time. It also helps me inform you of any new programs and close of existing programs. If you are subscribed, I promise you, you would be the first one to be notified. So take a moment and turn on that subscription. Now let's deep dive into this, right? So what has already happened? As of yesterday, there's something called as the Portugal Assembly, right? So the Portugal Assembly voted and it was an approval that pushed forward. That's as early as yesterday, and they approved the changes. Now, what are the changes that they're talking about? The changes are the time frame to citizenship is now going to change from the previous 5 years to 10 years. That's the first one. The second one that they have written in this, right, if it gets approved as is, and which is likely to get approved as is, and I'm going to explain when and how. The second change that they're saying is that when an applicant applies on the IMA portal, as per the previous instructions, your time or your clock to citizenship started on the day of application and not from the day of residency issuance, because residency can take up to 3 years, and that's been the processing delays, right? Between 2 and 3 years is standard time, wait time for a lot of applicants to get the golden visa. You got to wait for 3 years, and if this law changes, then you would start your citizenship clock after 3 years, which is the day on which your card, your plastic card, your golden visa card is printed. So this effectively adds 3 more years to anyone looking to start a golden visa today. So let's say I want to do the Portugal Golden Visa. I invested the money. I applied on the IMA portal. The immediate impact is that, nope, it's not going to start my time to citizenship, not the 5 years, right? It's going to be 10. This 10 years would start after I obtain my physical card, which may be up to 3 years from the time I apply. So 3 and 10 makes it 13. And then once you are eligible for citizenship, let's say you apply for the nationality or the citizenship, they may take up to 2 to 3 years to grant you that citizenship. So let's kind of put this timeline together. To get the card, 2 to 3 years, let's do a logical average. Let's say 2.5 years to get the card in a realistic scenario. And then you add the 10 years of wait to apply for your nationality, and then 2 to 3 years for your citizenship. So let's take a reasonable average, which makes it 2.5 years. So 2.5, and 10 in between, it makes it 15-year path to citizenship. This is assuming you get your citizenship. There's no further rule changes. We know Portugal is plagued with constant rule changes, constant updates. So let's say you're on your 15-year pathway. If nothing else changes in the next 13 years, then yes, you could guarantee your citizenship in 15 years. But if the laws change, if they come up with some new rules which impact existing investors, let's say for whatever reason, after 10 years, they push the goalpost to 20, then of course, nothing is guaranteed. People have to be in the queue, wait and watch, because the ones who applied for the Portugal Golden Visa before applied with the understanding that it's going to be 5 years to citizenship, but then the goalpost changed. Now it's 10 and effectively 15, actually, if you look at the realistic timeframes. Now, so far, what has happened is the Portugal Assembly has approved this, right? The second step now, this second step and third step, all these happen fairly quickly. In the next 60 to 90 days, all of this have to materialize. We got the approvals. Now this is headed for the final vote, and it is scheduled for Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. And although nothing is guaranteed, this bill is widely expected to pass. That's but obvious because in the Portugal Assembly, it has gotten the approval. It's kind of a formality, almost a formality, that it should be approved on the 28th. Once that happens, then this directly goes to the president. The president has two options. One is sign it into law, which most probably is going to be the case, because if everyone is approving it, why would the president have any issues with, then what was the point of getting the approval, right? The president, more than likely, I feel, in my opinion, none of this is immigration, tax, legal, or finance advice. I'm purely speculating based on my understanding and analysis and past trends and research. But the other option, theoretically, the president has is to send this for constitutional court review. I feel this is almost unlikely. There's good chances that this might be signed into law. And once this gets signed into law, of course, all of these changes would impact the new investors. But what happens to the people who have invested before, who have been waiting for, let's say, the last 4 years or 3 years or almost 5 years? If they haven't already applied for citizenship, meaning, let's say you covered the 5 years, you got the permanent residency, you are, let's say, in year number 5.5 or year number 6, and you already have submitted your application for citizenship, then yes, you would naturalize normally under the 5-year rule. But let's say it's been just 4 years, or let's say it's been 5 years, but you are still awaiting your permanent residency, you haven't really applied for citizenship, your application is not pending for citizenship with the immigration, then of course your wait would shift from 5 years to 5 more, which is 10, and then you apply, and then it may take another 3 years to then get your approval. So existing investors would be affected. What's not changing, a critical thing that's not changing here, is the 7 days of physical presence requirement for citizenship as of now. But that does not mean, let's say you do the 10 years, or you're almost about to do the 13-year mark, right? You're going to then apply for citizenship. But let's say at that point they say, nope, the 7 days is not good enough. We want even the existing investors to do the normal 6 months per year kind of thing. That could be a possibility, although I think that scenario would be extremely unlikely. They may extend the time frame further, right, from 15 years to 20 years. Who knows what happens in future, but it's extremely unlikely that they're going to then say that 7 days is not good enough, do the 6 months. So you cannot retroactively go back and do the 6 months. Moving forward, you can spend more time before they let you naturalize. So those are all speculative future predictions. We really don't know what happens after 15 years, how Portugal changes, what is the law in effect at that point. Could be drastically different from what they have today. What are the alternate golden visa options in the EU right now? One of the options is Greece, right? So for someone who is not really chasing citizenship, not really looking for citizenship, Greece could be done. You get an EU permit, you get access to the EU region, maintain your property or maintain your investment, and you will have your EU access preserved. So that's one option. The second option is Latvia. So again, if you're okay, because if Portugal changes to 10, Latvia is already 10, then you're looking at Latvia versus Portugal. Latvia, 60k euros is what you're looking at. Portugal obviously would remain 500k euros. So you have to choose which one fits your needs. Now, my final take on this topic: should you do the Portugal Golden Visa? Should you wait? Let's say all of these changes happen in the next month and a half, and I'm going to inform you. So as long as you are subscribed to the channel, you are going to be updated. If all of these changes happen, then what is the usefulness of the Portugal Golden Visa? Well, it would not really be an attractive option from a citizenship perspective, right? Because let's say you're 45 or 50 and you're adding another 15 years to then turn 65 and then get the EU citizenship. Do you really want EU citizenship after 15 years? And what if the rules change in between? Just like this one, if there's a second rule change, then what happens? So there's a lot of uncertainty. So I wouldn't say this would be an excellent option from a citizenship perspective. That should not be the marketing pitch point. A lot of marketers have really advertised the Portugal Golden Visa. And to be fair to them, it's not been their mistake. They said what the rules were. They said what the advantages were. That is their job. Their job is to obviously project what's currently in place. The government really changes things and then everything goes for a toss. They can't do much. But I would not consider this from a citizenship perspective. With only 7 days of physical presence, you do get access to the EU. So for someone, let's say an American or a Brit or any Westerner that's looking to gain access to the EU region, there are two options. One is use your visa-free access. In that case, you can live up to 6 months, but you don't have to do the minimum 7 days. But let's say you're looking for a redundancy, you're looking for a duplication of access, then the second option is get the Portugal Golden Visa. So you have an assured access to the EU, but you do have to then comply with the 7 days of physical presence in Portugal. So either you do the visa free or you do the 7 days and have access to Portugal. You'll have a couple of alternatives to consider. This would be more beneficial for someone who does not have access, a visa-free access to the EU region. Doing the Golden Visa will give you an entry, a visa-free access to the Schengen region. You only do the 7 days, but in return, then you can obviously access the EU region. So that is going to be the main utility or the usefulness of Portugal Golden Visa. Now, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This is very important because when the community shares their thoughts, it really starts making sense. A lot of people read your comments and then think about this. Do you think the Portugal Golden Visa is still very useful, beneficial? A person should do this? And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and catch you in the next one.